Anyway, hope everybody's doing well. And this will be a very exciting AMA. And by the way, I believe this is a fairly new feature inside of Discord, but there's actually a text chat in here now, up in the upper right-hand corner. I think you guys can see that. It says show chat. It's a separate chat just for in here. Just kind of keep in mind the chat will go away when you exit. So you may want to post in general or any AMA questions. I'd recommend AMA questions if you want to ask questions. That'd be the best move to do, which I will read live on air. And we'll also take some questions live if we can. I want to kind of keep this tight. It's late for people. I don't want to have everybody feel like they have to sit on here for hours and hours or anything like that. We're too long, at least anyway. So, all right, guys. Anyway, crazy day in crypto. Interesting day in Zeta. The market is following us. That's how I look at it. Anyway, we are the trendsetters. So thanks for hopping on. This is a very abrupt, sudden AMA, but there's a good reason for it. As you read in the announcement, we have pulled our liquidity off of RadioShack. The deadline for the farm was yesterday at 3 p.m. Central Time, and that was to give folks time to get out. So let me just tell a little brief story about our DEX experience so far. As you know, we launched on Pangolin. There were some mutual connections there with Pangolin. That went well for the most part. We started and launched the farm a couple months into the project. And that was a great utility source, a source of utility for Zeta token holders. And what had ended up happening was when we went to go renew the farm, they said, great, we'll renew the farm. Here's the invoice. And then suddenly said, nope, we're not going to do the farm. And then tried to blame it off on, well, you guys hold too many tokens. And just really were just excuses. Somebody was talked to in a certain way that got their feelings hurt. And they said, nope, don't renew the farm. That's what we ended up finding out. So it just so happens that I was approached by RadioShack back in, I want to say, August or September. They reached out to us and said, hey, we are looking to bring more people over to our DEX and would love to provide free liquidity if you pair with the radio token. Of course, I was not interested in that. And I always like to keep lines of communication open because you never know. So obviously when the issues with Pangolin were going on, reached out to Trader Joe. They were like the most obvious choice, but Trader Joe would not do a farm. They only do farms, what I was told, for brand new projects, not existing projects. All right. So they would not do a farm. And it was kind of a no-no for me only because I wanted to continue giving you guys that utility. So it just so happens, I said, well, wait a minute, I was contacted by these RadioShack guys. I wonder if they're willing to do a farm. Turns out they were willing to do a farm, and they were really bending over backwards, if I may say, for Zeta, because they didn't have a lot of volume. They really had practically no volume on their decks at all. So bringing a project on like Zeta provided significant volume and significant use, far more than they had with anything else combined. And that was going well, and they were supposed to donate to James Project charity and do all sorts of stuff. They were very responsive. So I thought, okay, we're a big project. They're a small project. Maybe there's some, they're an old brand. Maybe there's something here we can work with. So as you guys know, around Thanksgiving time in the United States, all of a sudden they started restricting countries from using their DEX. I was caught off by that just like you guys were. Did not know that was coming. And I couldn't get any answers from the team when that happened. All of a sudden their Twitter went silent. As you know, if you go and look at their Twitter, they haven't tweeted a single thing ever since we launched on their DEX. Okay, so their Twitter went silent. I found out that the team that onboarded us basically was gone. Okay, I think some resigned, but I believe some were let go. I don't know that for sure, but nonetheless, they were gone. So we lost a lot of points of contact. And I thought to myself, well, this is a DEX. They're smart contracts. We're the only project really doing anything over there, so we'll just kind of hang, on here and just see how it goes. Well, as it turns out, that obviously as time went on, the Discord was shut down, their Discord, I should say. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago now, their DApp went down. And I was on the phone calling Ty Lopez, calling Alex Mayer, basically kicking up as much of a fuss as I can, getting them to bring it back online. Sure enough, brought it back online. And then there's recent reports of them potentially going bankrupt. Okay. So if you remember anything from Celsius, when they had their bankruptcy hearings, the judge said that they did not have to return all the crypto to investors. So that's obviously a very scary sort of situation to be caught in with, $1 million total, $500,000 in USDC in liquidity stuck in RadioShack. So, ThorFi has been awesome. And they created this OTC as a service back in, I think, November, October, something like that. And we brought it on not ever to be the sole replacement for the DEX and trading, but to provide yet another utility point. The DEX has become dangerous, not just because of RadioShack, but because of front-running bots, sandwich bots. I mean, if you go on there and you place a buy order for anything more than $1,300, $1,400, you get front-run. And then you get dumped on right after that, right? This is just bots, and they monitor the blockchain. It's become a mess, right? So your value gets lowered. And if you're looking to use the services, guess what? Your value in the services gets lowered too. So that's why the OTC became so popular from ThorFi, was because people realized, hey, I can buy in large chunks and sell in large chunks and not create that volatility and not be front run with bots and all this stuff, which is exactly what the intention was behind it. So obviously, when we're looking at the volume going through the OTC, and when we're looking at the simple fact that A, we make money at Zeta Capital, B, that money allows us to provide utility, and C, that utility drives demand, the OTC works, and it works exceptionally well. So that's why it was kind of the most obvious choice. We had to get the liquidity out of RadioShack anyway, but looking at this, we're like, not only are people saying we should do this, but we think this is a great idea too, because of the adoption rate, because of the volume, because of the usage, and because of the fact that now the dichotomy of sellers and utility users can now both be satisfied without people losing value. So it's really a win-win for everybody. Gavin, what do you have to say? What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, if it works out, welcome. And if it doesn't, I try to stop them, everyone. But they just wouldn't. It was an immovable object, unstoppable force. No, all of that is true. And the beauty of it is that there are a lot more pros that we're not even talking about. So once you decide you want to explore an idea, then you have to start doing the mathematics. You have to make sure that a huge benefit to not having to support a depreciating token on an OM value. And that's that if you look at Raise Analytics, you'll see that we did over $1 million in buybacks, right? We did over $1 million in buybacks to the open market. And where did that money go? We can't guarantee that it even went to a Zeta member. It could have went to a trading bot. We have a few trading bots that love to pick on our token. So the idea is that simply by going to a more enclosed ecosystem for the token, there's fewer people that are expatriating dollars in USD in value out of our tokens that aren't even members. So this is a way to ensure that the value of the token is only amongst Zetarians. So a bunch of ancillary benefits that I know you're going to get into, and we'll get into as people start to ask us questions. But the big benefit is that once we explored what it would do for the ecosystem, it turns out that the benefit of not supporting the token OM, you just have to look at, say, what could Zeta Capital do with $1 million? And that's the opportunity cost that no longer exists.
Correct. We have a gentleman we want to bring up from the audience who's really short on time. So it's kind of an odd segue, but we're going to get back to everything we're talking about. Nylock is in the house. I'm going to invite him to come up to speak right now. Nylock, how are you?
Hello, Team Zeta. How is everyone doing tonight?
Doing well. I know you're short on time, and obviously going OTC only is something that I at least am not aware of another project doing. Just so happens, man, it's your great team that built the OTC system that continues to improve upon it. And one of the things that I am pretty confident someone's going to bring up, at least I've seen it asked previously, is relying so much on another project to have an OTC system, how can we really trust them? I can answer that pretty easily, but you're the face of, look at that. You're the face of ThorFi. So I'm like, why don't we invite Nylock to answer that himself?
Absolutely. I'm honestly, I think that's an incredibly fair concern coming in from your community. One of the things that I will say is we've started the auditing process. We are going through CERTIC for our OTC contract auditing. But in addition to that, and really for peace of mind for your community, I'd like to really, hit the nail on the head here that, the Zeta OTC offering and the Thor OTC offering are actually two completely different things. We have given you, all of the source code. You guys have been able to develop the ROTC systems, ROTC contracts on directly onto your back end. And you guys have full control over your own contracts. So not only can you guys peer review all aspects of the OTC contracts and all aspects of the front end versus the back end integrations, but you can also, see our auditing process and the auditing process that we've already started on our contracts. So I'd like to give the Zeta community a big piece of mind. Us over at ThorFi, we're huge fans of the Zeta team. Showtime, you and I, we've known each other for a very long time now. And I have to say, really honored to see you guys go towards this OTC only option. I think this is a fantastic move being made by you guys, and I'm very interested to see the long term way that this is going to go for you guys. I think it's going to be extremely beneficial, and I think how you guys have utilized our OTC offering is completely superseded our expectations, and we're really happy to be able to work with you and continue to support you guys. You guys are a great team, and just want to let everyone know, contracts are not only safe, but they're completely independent.
Absolutely. And we're over $2.2 million in, when did we launch? The end of December. So a little over 2 months, $2.2 million. And
that's a huge amount of volume.
Absolutely. So it was almost a no-brainer, right? I mean, this is a way to really create a sort of fixed economy. I'm calling it like a Zeta economy, and allow people to get the value who want to sell, and allow the people who want to use the services to get that value as well. And with the continued utility and the demand that will come from that, as well as the buybacks, which we'll get in here in a moment, I think this will create a nice little closed loop, closed circuit system that will benefit everybody.
Totally. And so I just want to say thank you so much for coming up today. It's a big day for the Zeta community. I hope you guys are, going to have some celebrations in your general chat. I think this is such a great, transition into the future. And, as always, Showtime, if you ever need support, if you ever need any help from the ThorFi team, you always reach out. You always have a direct line of communication with us.
Yeah, and I'll just say the ThorFi team has been amazing. We are, and I know Nylock can see it, we're talking in there all the time about, hey, how do, can we improve this, or what about this? And the developers are just so responsive. I've just been nothing short of impressed. And I know you're short on time, Nylock. I really appreciate you joining us and chiming into our community.
No problem. Have a fantastic day, guys, and congratulations once again.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks so much.
All right.
Have a good one.
Ciao, guys.
Thanks. And I did notice, guys, I apologize. I forgot to click the go live button on my live stream. It went live about 3-4 minutes ago. So apologize. But we do have our moderators recording it as a backup in case. So there was the first 15 minutes that were missed that will be uploaded later as well. So I'm going to field some questions. I think that's kind of a good place to go. But before we go there, I did want to discuss the use of the liquidity, because that's probably the biggest thing right now is, $500,000 in USD coin, actually 530K, give or take, as well as over 9,000 Zeta tokens. So what does that look like? So, I'm the kind of person, and I'm going to kind of steal a quote here from, I've heard Gavin use, if I open up a restaurant, I eat my own restaurant. If I sell a product, I use my own product. Okay, so in that sense, when we have pulled liquidity, which is you can track it in the wallet right now, the plan is to go into a very low risk HFT fund and use the profits from that to perform additional buybacks on the OTC if listings get backlogged. Now, I want to clarify that is intended to compound as long as humanly possible, because the longer that compounds, the further we stay ahead of growth rates of zones. And if you guys have not looked at the OTC purchases, literally today, yesterday, and the day before were record-breaking days. As a matter of fact, we've had new wallets come in. We've had wallets buying 100 zones at a time, just massive volume coming in. So the idea is currently up to this point, you can go look at what Ray, big shout out to Ray and his Dune Analytics. We've purchased over $1.1 million in open market buybacks, just in open market, propping up a token price, right? Which could be continued. But, as you are an entrepreneur and a serial entrepreneur, you look at ways to improve the business. You look at ways to improve cash flow. And you look at ways to be more and more efficient. You should never just stay stagnant, and that's death in business. So in this sense that we have used OTC profits that we list tokens, because there's literally not enough tokens being listed, as well as a percentage from the smart contract claims and membership fees to perform buybacks. That will continue. That's where that $1.1+ million came from. But the liquidity will provide a tertiary source of additional profits to perform even more buybacks should the need arise where growth just starts to get out of control in OTC listings, as well as fees or profits from the fees start to kind of not be able to keep up, if that makes sense. So the idea is you have that immediate liquidity and you have that longer lasting liquidity with the HFT fund, and that will outpace growth most likely. So I wanted to share what the plans with the liquidity was for that. I know Brad's hopped up. If you want to chime in, just unmute yourself and talk over me, perfectly fine. How you doing? You doing good?
Hey mate, yeah, I'm doing good. I've just shared a little message with you in Telegram that I think you should quickly check.
Yeah, no problem. Gavin, what am I leaving out?
Nothing that I'm aware of. I think we're just ready for questions now. If anybody has any. Otherwise, it's a good time to call it an early night.
Yeah. Brad, you have anything you want to share? Anything specific? Any details, from your side of the pond, I'll say?
Yeah, so just a little quick update, just so that everybody knows what's going to happen. The price will actually increase daily across the week. So as of right now, the price will increase by 14 cents per day, every day at midnight.
And that's midnight at which time zone?
Is it CST?
Central Standard Time. Yep.
So yeah, as of right now, and we can change it in the future depending on market conditions. But as of right now, it's set to increase by 14 cents per day, and every Sunday it'll end up being at the next dollar.
And that's more than 3 cents last time I checked. That's a great number because that's going to allow the growth. Now, keep in mind, guys, the changes in the value of the Zeta token is going to be dependent on, as Brad said, A, market conditions, but B, inflation, deflation. I think most of us here, I could be wrong, I'll stand corrected. I think most of us here probably subscribe to Austrian economics, right? Keynesian economics is probably what has driven most of us into crypto to begin with. So that means that, yes, it's less intervention from the Austrian economic standpoint, but it's kind of anti-inflation as well. It's more of a deflation approach, right? So there's a lot of data points on the back end that will make this, I'm going to call it Zeta economy, work beautifully like music. So at the moment, starting off with 14 cents per day moving forward. And when are we starting that, Brad? Tomorrow? I think you're muted if you're talking.
It will start from Monday.
Monday. Yep. Sorry, I think I said tomorrow. Monday, I meant to say. Yep. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Gavin, when am I leaving out? Gavin's always the guy that can fill in when I'm leaving out, I know.
No, I think you followed the cue cards pretty well. We hit everything.
If you guys have any, this is one of the few times I'm talking more than I'm kidding. If you guys have any questions, please go into the AMA questions channel and write them there. I only got a couple. I'm going to just go over a couple. I know people I can sense furiously going in there typing. No, I'm joking. So I'm going to go over I have some more things to share about the OTC only, but I'll go in here to answer some questions. We'll kind of bounce back and forth if that's okay. Again, this is being recorded. I know the first chunk was cut off, and we'll upload that as well moving forward. So CrossBlitz is asking if the team will consider removing their OTC tokens when there are other listings on it already. The answer is yes. Where we spoke about this at the moment. Yeah, and guys, keep in mind, like, go to the Dune Analytics and look at the daily OTC volume. There's days where it drops, but there's massive spikes up. Now, if there were not tokens listed by the team, there literally would not be enough tokens listed in there. So what would that do? That would drive people to the DEX, put them at risk of the bots and all this kinds of stuff while we were, waiting for folks to get out of the farm to make the migration proper.
Correct. And just to be candid, we've all experienced it. The OTC has ran out a dozen or so times already, and we've had to go and list tokens ourselves. Otherwise, there would be none. Not to go on a huge diatribe, but if I had to add anything to what you were talking about previously, is that people have to understand Austrian, Keynesian, MMT, it doesn't matter what you subscribe to, it's all about the circulating supply. So one of the advantages to our project is that by recycling tokens, those aren't tokens that we just took out of thin air. We had to purchase those back, so the value of that token was still locked, just like in any true monetary system. So by recycling these tokens, we're ensuring that the value that's emitted per zone is captured. So it's all about circulating supply. And so everything we do is to ensure the circulating supply is adjusted accordingly with our growth. And by
Correct.
doing this, obviously, by not having to do OM buybacks and having our token be depreciated with expatriation from trading bots, obviously, just going to this system, we're going to see that the tokens used in the system are going to be distributed more efficiently to the treasury, to the algorithms, and to other potential avenues that Zeta Capital chooses to grow into in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yes, absolutely. So, Bernie, nice to answer your question. What's a backup plan in case the OTC platform goes out? We haven't had that since we've launched. There's been little hiccups, but it's not like gone down. And if it does, we got the Thor team, like literally, they're incredibly responsive. It's really not a problem. We have our own developers that could also assist as well. But 100%. And I think that's also a good point, because you have a lot of projects that when we talk about velocity of money, there's got to be velocity in multiple directions, right? We kind of think of velocity going one way, or two ways, I should say, but it's got to go in multiple directions. It's got to be a freeway that goes both ways, that has on and off ramps. Right? It's got to go in different places. That's why literally we have so much to do in our ecosystem with tokens that people have been begging me, hey, make a video and tell me everything I can do. Like, just lay it all out. And that's a testament to the fact that there is so much to do, right? Whereas you have a system that typically goes two ways: in liquidity, out liquidity, and that's it. Okay. And if there's something more to it on the business side, fine. But in most cases, there's not. And in this case, you could put them in lakes. You could go on OTC. You could build more zones. You can go into pools. You can compound into different pools. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. And the fact of the matter is, that's what creates that additional velocity. And if you go look at the circulating supply, I was kind of joking back when the HFT first came out. So we rugged the circulating supply because it's going up and it just crashes, right? And then it goes up again and it crashes. And every time it crashes, those are pools being opened. Those are people using their tokens for something, in my opinion, that's more efficient than just selling them. Let's see. So Master Yoda is asking, is the daily price increase only Monday through Friday or include weekends and holidays? I don't know about holidays. I believe it's going to include weekends. Brad can chime in if I'm wrong, but I believe it's going to include weekends. And that can and likely will be modified as the system grows. Just I want to make that point very clear, that that's where we're starting, but that may not be what it looks like in 2 months from now, just as an example, right? Because as you saw, the volume in OTC has been ridiculous the last couple of days. If theoretically, let's just say theoretically, just for fun conversation, 30,000 zones were built in the next 4 weeks, that might alter that plan a little bit, right? Because the growth is so substantial.
It's Monday through to Sunday.
Monday through Sunday. There you go.
Brad, does that include International Women's Day?
Yes, it does.
Okay, good.
Just making sure, right?
It has to include International Women's Day, dude.
Hey, CMO, how are you?
What's going on, guys?
Well,
Just had to pipe in to remind Gavin, because he's busting on me about this. There was a big mix-up, so it's been fun about International Women's Day.
I didn't know that was such a big deal.
I love my wife. What's the confusion?
None, bro. We're good. I'm glad you love her.
And my mother.
Congratulations, guys. This is a big push, Brad. Thank you very much. You guys It's a little sweaty there for a minute.
RadioShack had one last gift to give.
Oh,
Give us one last present.
You know, I'll say RadioShack is truly the gift that kept on giving. Even trying to get the liquidity out, we had developers and just different people. It was we were just having so many issues just getting liquidity out. I mean, there you go.
Brad's like, okay, are we pushing it? Gavin, say push it. Matt, anybody who's pushing it?
I will never again utter those words. No more. No more.
So,
like, do it, Brad, do it.
You know, you can picture. So getting your liquidity out when RadioShack is not bankrupt was challenged. Imagine what it'd be like if they went bankrupt and we were still stuck in there. And you could just imagine.
Joking aside, they disabled the ability to withdraw, so our developers had to hack their code and get into the matrix and freaking drop us some sick weapons and then phone us out. It was the whole thing. Brad is the one. Confirmed.
Phone us out. Oh my god.
I'm gonna didn't build a withdraw function in, so he built one for them and got our money out.
There you go. Well, thankfully it's out, and that will be put into. I mean, today's Friday, so it won't be I don't know. Maybe it will be tomorrow. Brad can answer that, but it'll be definitely by Monday. That will be put into a low risk HFT fund. And I'm going to field a couple questions. I'm reading them as they're coming in.
Good ones, guys. You got the 4 horsemen up here.
Yeah. So I'm reading Al Blex. I think your first question was already answered. What does an example of a healthy increased value look like? I think that was kind of already answered. So that's the start. Keep in mind, that's a start with, right? It's not how it's going to permanently go. You know, can't go and say. But what I was going to say, just briefly, can't go and say it's going to go up forever. I mean, let's not paint that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and how much was that again for people who were just joining us? How much is that increase per day?
14 cents per day.
Still more than 3 cents.
Yeah, definitely more than 3 cents. Let's see. So Alblex's second question, he wants to know if there's any plans or solutions for OTC deals of values less than $100. No, not at the moment, at least. So what he's asking is, can people list less than 100? And the answer is, at the moment, no. That might change later, but not right now. So the question about what the coin trackers are going to look like. So right now, how do you keep track of the price after removal? Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, the D app, the dashboard will show you the price at the very top. That's the most obvious one. But the second obvious one is going to be Discord. You know, as the price is, or the value, I should say, is modified, that would be the most obvious and quickest place to find it. But if you don't know, just go to zetacapital.com. Open up the app, you'll see it right at the top. That's where it will show once it's updated.
That's actually a really good question. And while we got the man here, CMO, can we make a note of that in regards to external communication strategies? I think we might have some things on the early storyboard. If you want to expand on that or allow me, I will expand on that. But if not, we'll leave it there.
What are we talking about? You know, don't with the alpha again, okay? what are you doing?
The app, man. The app and stuff.
Which one? God, I can't keep up.
There we go. Just letting people know what the price is when pulls open, things like that.
Push notifications. Maybe. Yes. Yeah. So we got some plans. Underway. There's something. We've got an idea. Devs wrote up a strategy that would probably solve a lot of that real fast. So I'll break that down in the group and let you guys see if that's something we want to pursue before I announce it. But yeah, the idea is to get push notifications on your mobile devices when there's new opportunities that fit your tier, right? Pool opens within your bracket. You'll get a push notification when there's a new lake launched, this kind of thing. So price modifications. So push notifications, a lot of people are asking for that. And so the idea is to implement that so it accommodates both desktop and mobile devices. So stand by for more details on that.
Yep. More see, so that's just an example of, and I was kind of jokingly saying this in the Discord earlier. quote, it's on the list, right? It's on the list, as I'm going to be one of my new catchphrases, because there's things on the list that haven't been shared. That would be one of them. Just kind of expand on that for a moment. If you picture Discord, yeah, exactly. But if you think about crypto now, Discord is very popular among gamers, but it's very popular among crypto as well. I know people that when you tell them Discord, they either they hate it or they don't know what it is, right? But they're very heavily involved in crypto.
Or they studied Greek philosophy in college and they get worried.
Yeah, that could be another option. But you picture the announcements on Discord. Well, there's a whole group of people that are potentially missing those same announcements, right? That are not in Discord because they just don't understand it. They don't want to understand it, whatever reason. The app could serve a dual purpose for people who are not either in Discord or do not participate much in Discord, to get those same notifications, whether it be push or something that you open up to just get the information you want when you want it. So more information to come on that as well.
Yes.
This is a great question, and I actually want to tackle this. So Jay Good is asking, are pools going to be on regular update schedule moving forward? Well, actually, he was asking about updates. I'm going to let Brad answer. I thought he was asking about something else. I do want to talk about pools, though, as he reminded me. Brad, he's asking about the updates for the pools. What do you got to say about that? I know you're the guy that's not sleeping because you're working on it.
Yeah, I mean, we had a bit of a technical. It's difficult to explain. So I've explained this before. So if we have a certain amount of positions that are open that affect a certain margin, we don't feel it's safe to update the pool because I'm trying to explain it. If there's a position open that affects like more than 25% of the realized profit and loss, then and we update based on the figures that we've got at the snapshot time, then at some point tomorrow you'll have a massive jump, and then what will happen is certain pools will have a bigger jump than other pools, and it will just be very difficult to track. It is something that myself and CMO discuss almost every hour of every day on how to resolve it, and I am confident that we are getting there. That's all I can say.
Jay Good, I hope that answers your question. Sorry, CMO, you want to say something?
No, he's right on. We're on it. We're trying to sort it. It's a thing, but we'll find an answer.
It's on the list. We'll say that it's on the list.
It's on the list. It's a big piece of the list.
Mm-hmm. But Jay Good, you did bring something up that I wanted to talk about, which is pools. There's a few indirect benefits of going OTC only that may not be apparent or obvious at first. So you are not reactatory with a DEX trying to prop up a price or trying to, allow that price to at least have some sort of value. You're more planning with buybacks if it's necessary in listings, if listings stagnate. Now, what that means is there's likely less money having to be spent on buybacks. Now, if you go and look at the open market purchases of over $1.1 million, you can kind of imagine, let's just say that was more planned and it was significantly less than that. So what would the delta be used for? Well, more pools, right? More utility. So you're going to see pools being opened a little bit more utility, going to be utilized a little bit more, right? Things like that. Side benefit of not having to do open market buybacks. And the liquidity helps with that as well, by the way. Another indirect but sort of direct benefit is potentially as we move along, this won't be an immediate thing, but as we move along, we can make HFT withdrawals faster. So currently they are up to 28 days, and there's obviously good reason for that. 1,000-foot view is essentially, you go and withdraw out of your pool, let's say, positions inside of the HFT have to be closed. You have to hedge out of those positions. You have to swap into crypto, which is a cost that we don't even pass on to you guys. And then somebody has to review it. So those steps in and of themselves can take a long time, especially if the markets become more volatile. Getting out and hedging out of those positions can take even longer, right? So imagine for a minute the treasury grows to a degree where if somebody goes and withdraws, say, $15,000 out of their pool, there's 150,000 in the treasury. Well, you wouldn't then go and close positions in the HFT. You'd just pay somebody out of the treasury, right? Because it's essentially the same thing. And even better, because you don't have to close positions and lose your compounding ability, right? So as we go along, as the treasury grows, as we kind of get a feeling for what the numbers look like in OTC, that's something that I would expect to be as a great benefit to those using the utility as well.
Best
Along
point
with-
of all.
Yeah.
Best point. Not affecting your compounding if we can do that, which would be,
Yep.
cherry on top. It's perfect.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the idea of delivering more utility and be more efficient with that utility that's being delivered, right? Because, I look at it kind of like this. I'm not saying DEXs are bad. DEXs, which is a decentralized exchange, if you don't know, they serve a purpose. They certainly serve a purpose in DeFi to a degree. Nobody's done OTC only yet that I'm aware of. Again, this is what I stated at the beginning. So if you're tuning in live, you missed it. But there's 3 reasons to harp on this again, why OTC works in our ecosystem. A, we make money. Most projects don't make money. You'd be aghast at how much money projects actually lose and waste. So A, we make money. B, because we make money, we can deliver utility. And C, because we deliver utility, there's obvious demand, right? You remove any one of those pegs, suddenly the OTC starts to have a problem. So that's the main reason why people haven't done it. They don't have utility and they don't make money, and there's no demand. But, I look at a DEX sort of as it takes the emphasis off more of Zeta's utility and places the spotlight sort of back onto an open market, which again is not like a bad thing, but selling dictates the sentiment of the project as opposed to building the business development, innovation, things like that. I mean, I kind of look at crypto still as a very nascent market where you have literally a single token, being Bitcoin, tends to determine the value of the entire market. I mean, you can see how the markets react to news of, Silvergate and the Silicon Valley Bank, and they even react to potential increases of capital gains tax, right? How many times have they announced that? And the market still reacts the same way every single time. So when you have an ecosystem like we do, where we're delivering utility, that sentiment becomes a problem for people who want to use the utility, right? And it's, again, just due to the fact that the market is nascent. And I think having the OTC-only mechanism puts the focus back on what makes us different. That single factor is our utility, right? It's okay to sell. It's not demonizing sellers. It's just, there's sort of a dichotomy in the community where you've got folks that are saying, what the heck is wrong with these people selling? And then you got the people who are selling saying, what the heck is wrong with you people not selling? And in this case, I think both sides can be very satisfied. Let's see. So Steven's asking a good question.
And support the ecosystem for long-term sustainability right there.
Correct.
So to add to that last thought. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, no problem. I mean, again, this is not, I want to emphasize, it's not a knee-jerk reaction. Oh my gosh, bankruptcy, RadioShack, we better do something. No. Matter of fact, I had actually presented the OTC-only model potentially as just an idea a long time ago. Shortly after it was launched, I said, what would it look like if this thing got so big that it took over the DEX? That system kind of looked like, and I said, well, you wouldn't be reliant on an open market price, which means the open market price wouldn't be reliant on sentiment, which means sentiment's not reliant on what's going on in crypto, and on and on and on. And as the demand grew, it became something that was more viable. That makes sense. So it just so happens that the Lord was providing the answer before the problem occurred, if you will. So there you go.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So Steven's asking a great question. He said, with the price increasing 14 cents a day, we should reach $100 in 9 to 10 months. Was the original plan to reach $100 again? So again, I'm going to kind of go back to originally what was shared. So 14 cents a day is to start with, right? That may look very different depending on how growth looks. We've got some things with marketing, which when we talk marketing, I shared this with the Sigma folks as well, Sigma and the moderators and the people, more close group, which is that The marketing, once Zeta Black is fully fleshed out, marketing launches, HFT audit, all that stuff kind of at the same time. And that could really modify what the growth in the current token model looks like. Because again, Black, Zeta Blue, as we call the token model, cross-pollination. People interested in Black see Blue, they like that better, and maybe vice versa. So marketing will be something that could be a catalyst for modifying what does that 14 cents a day look like. It's not going to go up at infinitely, and growth could substantially modify. I mean, we had the last couple of days as the highest growth day since we launched. Okay,
so just to tag on to that, Showtime.
Yeah. Yep.
So for those of you who don't know, Zeta Black has been in private beta testing. Prime was provided the URL to the D app. So you can look at Raise Analytics for Zeta Black and you can see it's kind of running already. Over $1 million, I think 1.3 has already been raised in there.
Yep. I don't. Did you get cut off or were you finished? I don't want to interrupt.
Sorry, I'm having a problem with my mic. Give me one moment.
Yeah, no problem. So Zeta Black is in like a private testing. It's important when you're doing private testing. Any developer, Brad could probably host an hour seminar on this, just what he wants to do. It's just they basically said when you're testing something, you want to make sure it's fully fleshed out. So you want deposits and you want withdrawals, right? So in that system, there's pools, there's accounts, there's different things. And you want to make sure that's fully functional prior to saying, hey, we're going to market this now. And Zeta Blue and Zeta Black are both now having maybe tens of thousands, whatever the amount is, of marketing dollars thrown at it. And, this one thing over here doesn't work right. And now you got all these eyeballs on making sure it's not working right. So the bottom line is to make sure when things are being tested, they're fully fleshed out from A to Z and everything in between.
Can you hear me now?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got you.
Apologies, my headset died. But anywho, so some of the whales, some of the big league investors that we've showed Zeta Black to, they ended up going to Zeta Blue. Some of the big whales that we've had coming in, so speaking of what you were talking about, Showtime, with the OTC being cleared out, some of those people were folks that were invited to the Zeta Black sort of pre-launch, and they like what they saw over here. So when we talk about the cross-pollination, for those of you who have actually seen Zeta Black, Zeta Blue is still a very, 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 very interesting play. And now that people understand that they're getting an appreciating asset for the next foreseeable future, and just to point out, of course, Showtime, we have to play it safe. Nothing in life is guaranteed, but death and taxes. Always pay your taxes. We do have a plan for how we're going to grow. So far, our predictions have been fairly accurate. When Brad said that we were going to grow at that rate, that was based off our current growth pattern. So if we continue the way we're doing right now, plus or minus a few points, we're fine. Plus is always good. But, so just keep in mind, we factor that in. So, for the foreseeable future, this is the plan going forward.
Correct.
If that lends an air of confidence to it outside of just, be careful. But yeah, fairly confident. This is the move. This is the way.
This is the way. Rule 1Z is asking, is there any concerns with OTC being the only on and off ramp for Zeta in its relation to swapping Zeta and USD coin? No. If you look at the volume inside of OTC, I know plenty of people who haven't used the DEX actually in weeks. Frankly, they haven't been using the DEX at all because they had some concerns with RadioShack. I know even people pulled out of the farm long before we even announced that. So no, I mean, as long as you have USD coin, you can participate in the OTC. I hope that helps. Let's see. Trying to see if there's any other questions. What did I not cover? Have I not covered anything at all about the OTC only move?
Just a reminder that the price is the price for everything, right? So that's the price for OTC. That's the price for pool entry. That's the price for lake rollovers. Correct?
Thank you. You did. That's an important point. That's an important point. So, CMO, why don't you just expound a little bit about how, and I always use this analogy, the system is built like a Swiss watch, no pun intended on the Swiss watch. And you cannot remove any piece because it's so complex and pieces rely on pieces and rely on pieces, and you can't just change a price for one thing and not for another.
Yeah, so everything right there. That's a perfect description. And really the central pivot point of the entire system is the price point. That's it. It dictates every aspect, right? So all the returns and values that exist inside the pools, lakes, everywhere, all pivot and spin around that price point, that central data point. So wherever that sits, that value is automatically populated across the entire ecosystem. So, and yeah, it all works together in ratios and gears, if you think like that. So each piece has its own function, its own value, and its own contribution inside the whole ecosystem. So every pool, every lake, every size pool, right? Every token, every zone, they all spin together and emit what they're supposed to. And, ultimately, hopefully make everybody freaking a bunch of money. So that's the idea. And, that system as it exists right now, it's pretty impressive. And, sometimes I look at it and, the way the guys have put it together, our devs are just top tier, 100%. And Brad, he's a genius, and it just works. It's a great team, and the way this whole thing has come together, like you said, every piece works. Not only in our human resources, but we've got it in the system itself. It's just fantastic. It's fun, and it's cool to be a part of this freaking project. To be honest.
Yep. 100%. So, Brad already answered the question. Thank you, CMO. Brad already answered the question in the AMA questions channel. Somebody was asking, does what's going on with USD coin affect XETA? No, I mean, it's not really affecting anything in crypto right now. It's potentially Circle had some USD coins sitting at the Silicon Valley Bank, and that there might be some issues or, potential FDIC involvement there. I mean, honestly, guys, a lot of this stuff, you just got to let it play out. People going out are trying to short USD coin. I wouldn't do that. But if you think, that's a good move for you, more power to you. No, it doesn't affect XETA. And if it did, there's other options. It's not the only option. I hope that helps. Let's see. Concretion. Yeah. So I'm trying to understand your question, Vince McMahon. Could you clarify? Is that like a question or a statement? Just want to make sure I understand. Talking about the zone creation velocity, having to modify the price on OTC if it becomes too much. I think you're talking about the minimum selling of the token being less than 100, or you're talking about the actual value of the token overall. Just want to make sure I understand the question for an answer.
I think he means, obviously, earlier we said that obviously we're set at the moment at 14 cents a day. And obviously you mentioned if, let's say, next week we have 30,000 new zones, then we may have to revisit the, how often or the amount that we increase per day. What effect does the zones have on the daily increase of the OTC price?
Got it. So, you can't make, and by the way, I'm being told that there's no sound on the live stream. I don't know why. Everything is set properly on my end, so don't know why that's the case, but we do have this being recorded. So if people can't hear live, it'll be posted without a problem. But anyway, so yeah, you can't make adjustments inside of an ecosystem like this, that is this complex, as CMO said, just on a knee-jerk reaction, right? It has to be calculated properly. It has to be formulated properly. So, my analogy of suddenly, let's just say we went to 1,000 new zones every single day for next month. I mean, that, having 14 cents increase every day with also increase in zones, which equals increase in emissions, would obviously dramatically impact that, increase. What that would look like, maybe it'd be every 10 days, 2 weeks, or a different number altogether. It could be all sorts of things to accommodate the growth of the system. And that's an important word. It has to accommodate the growth, because we see projects who grow out of control too quickly are unable to control it, and thus they crash, right? So now
let me address something here real quick on that before.
Yeah, please do.
If I can interrupt you. So
yes,
what we're dealing with is ratios, right? So what we have to do is we have to grow and move our token price at a ratio that fits, right? Because otherwise you get exactly what you just described, right? we get this giant spike or a huge growth pattern over here. Well, we've got to make sure that those ratios balance on both sides, right? So we can't move the price point in some ridiculous location and then at the same time have exponentially impossible growth rates. So it'll move, and it has to balance. And what we've done is basically looking at the ratios where we are now and the way the system spends. 14 cents basically is it's $1 a week fundamentally, and we're going to climb at that rate. Okay, so that's what it looks like right now. And if any of these factors move, right, growth rates, zone rates, pools, any of this, right, it's all going to have a ripple effect, right? So that will be the ratios that we're going to watch and do our best to maintain. And it looks like right now with what we have, like Gavin and also Showtime's already explained, that curve looks like this number, and it's a great fit. So it's stable and it's sustainable, and those are the keys at this point. So yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to toss that on.
No, that's a good interruption. There's a key point to make here. So somebody might ask, and I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit. Well, if we don't have liquidity and we're not on a DEX, why does it matter? It matters because you can actually do something with your tokens. I harp on that because that is the key differentiator. We can do something with our tokens. Therefore, your tokens have a value inside of an ecosystem that you spend on something. It's no different than going to the store with a $1 bill. If all of a sudden your $1 bill was worth $100 in value, you'd buy a whole lot more, right? You could wipe that store out with a $1 bill. So when you have an ecosystem that accepts tokens at a certain value to participate in utility, you can't just go from 60 to 100 overnight. It would break the system in a lot of ways. So it has to be a gradual rise, and it has to be a rise that's sustainable and predictable so that the economic model makes sense. So I just wanted to clarify that. Now, you can't, in this theoretically crash, air quote, like projects who grow unsustainably, but we could to potentially have some issues inside of the economy of XETA, I will say. If all of a sudden we had a whole lot of people at $100, just everybody going into the pools, right? Pools would get filled up faster, lakes would fill up faster, fewer people be able to get in. So it's got to make sense to the zone growth rate. And ideally, the plan, and as long as this all works out in the calculations, is that by the time you reach X number of zones, for example, that's a much higher number, that the pools also open at the same rate that they do now to accommodate the additional zones. So it's got to all make sense. Let's see.
Math.
Hey, math matters. Somebody on the team said that once.
It's a true story.
Well, the pool, and let's also, let's be honest, the pool position looks pretty good right now. I think there's maybe one group that's lacking, and they might need a little help. But I think the availability is looking pretty good.
Yeah, I'd just like to expand and we look at all the data every day. Yeah, 24/7 we're on calls. We're checking, the fund status, how many zones were created that day, the fees paid that day, the OTC volume. We have a group of mathematicians, all day, every day, checking stuff out. Ray and his dashboard is a big help. But yeah, we treat Zeta like a little baby. Everything that we do is carefully analyzed. Every move that we make, when pools are opened, when features are pushed out, everything is curated on a daily basis.
100%. 100%. Again, with the complexities of the system, you can't make knee-jerk reactions. Everything has to be coordinated and planned. Steven's asking a great question. So I'll bring this up. We actually do have our own DEX, technically. It's in the background in the event we need it. Is XETA DEX? Yeah. It's a fork of Trader Joe. So if, heaven forbid, something happened and had to go back to a DEX, we would not have to go to any of these failed providers that don't know what they're doing. We could just, once again, do it ourselves, right? So we tend to do. And also, as we sell on OTC, which will be modified depending on the demand and who else is listing and whatnot. Part of that does go to the James Project, by the way. If you check the charity wallet, you'll see that's growing. That's because part of the sales go to the James Project. So that will continue again. And given the fact that OTC is the primary and exclusive place to purchase and sell Zeta token, we have more control over, how much to donate and things like that. By the way, I'll bring this up. So when we first came on to RadioShack, they were supposed to donate the James Project. So they were supposed to build a router on top of the swap function that would automatically donate, but they were also supposed to donate in addition. They never did that. And when I went to go question about it, I got no responses. So I'm going to be sending Ty Lopez a bill to send to donate to James Project and see what he does with it. Doubt he'll pay it, but I'm going to send it to him anyway. Oh, there you go.
It'll be a payable in court.
I mean, it's one of those things, and we're not even talking we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're just talking about staying true to your commitment. If you're going to donate to a charity, donate to a charity. I mean, you can screw over projects and all sorts of stuff, but when you screw over a charity, that's pretty low in my view. So there you go. There you go. Going to take just a few more questions. We're going to, I was intending to keep this short, but of course this is, just a nice, lively, informal conversation. So we are going to cut it off here though fairly shortly. So if you have any other questions, please go ahead and post them in the AMA questions channel. Bernie Nice, the answer to your question about what is a token price range, again, it's always going to go back to at what point at that time is the growth rate, what is it? Right, that's always going to be front and foremost the question in order to answer, or the answer rather to answer that question. So I don't know what the answer is right now to that. It just depends. Is really the answer.
Well, Showtime, I think I could venture a guess on something that might help understand the range. I would consider this pretty near term, but if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of faith, then you might consider it mid or longer term. But if you follow the maths, and I'm not a mathematician, trust me, you never want me checking the math. But if you do 14 cents a day, it's just shy. It's about $1 a week. If you were to count down back from our 1-year anniversary, we'd be eerily close to around 75 USDC.
Right at the anniversary, yeah.
Which was the initial offering price of XPRE. So the only time anyone has ever purchased tokens from Zeta Capital will be the price at the 1-year anniversary that people will be able to purchase it from each other and use it. It's almost poetic in its symmetry, I think.
The Lord works in mysterious ways. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Cross-blitz, there's no need to have a Zeta farm because there's no liquidity, right? So if you picture the way a DEX works, you have USD coin on one side, Zeta on the other side. What you're doing when you buy and sell is you're pulling one out and you're putting one in, right? So having a farm allows the public, you guys, to participate in that liquidity as opposed to just us. Provides public liquidity. But if we're not on a DEX, there's no need for that. It's essentially a peer-to-peer system. It's, hey, I want to sell 5 tokens and some guy wants to buy 5 tokens. That's how it works. So you actually have to have a buyer matched with the seller. So in that situation, there's no need for a farm.
Well, Showtime, okay. we still sort of have farms, but now it's a little more gamified, right? So what you would do is go OTC, buy a bunch of the X3TA tokens, the Zeta tokens. You would create zones, and in your wallet, you could have a whole field of them, and they emit Zeta tokens. And every time you claim, it's kind of like you're reaping your harvest. So if you think of it like Harvest Moon in Web3, you have a whole farm of up to 250 zones.
There you go.
So it's a zone farm. There you go, Crossblitz. That's your new farm. Go check it out. I just made it for you. It's in your dashboard. Do you feel loved? Do you feel heard right now? I just invented it just for you.
Should we put some flowers in it?
This is why we have Gavin on. We got a unique way of answering questions. There you go. So that zone farm is available in your dashboard immediately. That's the answer. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of it, guys. I don't see any other questions coming in. I think we're going to cut it off here. So again, I guess the sound was not working on the live stream. I have no idea why. Everything is set right on my side. So either way, this has been recorded. We always have backup recordings. So I'll go ahead and take that and modify it and upload it. Probably not tonight. Tomorrow, probably for sure. and put out some more content. So there's also blog posts. Go check our Medium out, please. Medium.com. There's a Zeta Capital Medium. You can also see that in the official links channel and Discord as well. There's also a blog on the website, and there's an article discussing the OTC-only move. I'll be putting out some more content, videos, especially the strategy video is going to be very different now. The strategic selling video, is really non-essential at this point, I would say. So you'll see the Xander bot not stating that anymore, at least shortly. But, this is something, again, that is not been done before, but because of the fact that Zeta is unique, and I myself am a contrarian. So the fact that I'm one of the founders of a project that is doing things for the first time and making it work is just, again, serendipitous, to copy Gavin's term there. More content coming out over the weekend and over the next few days to share more. And until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in. God bless. Take care. We'll talk soon.